What's up YouTube, this is Tubedigga. This video is a complete beginner's guide to using the Akai Mpcx with a modular synthesizer. So this video will be helpful for anyone who's currently into modular synthesis and is interested in how an Mpcx can interface and control a modular synthesizer, but also very much so for anyone who's not yet taken the plunge into the modular world and wants to know how you can get into it and how easy it is, because it is seemingly a very complex thing and also very intimidating from a financial perspective. So as you may already know, the Akai Mpcx has 8 CV outputs. So looking at the front of the Mpcx, they go from left to right. So we've got CV output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way over to the right here. Now for this video, I'm going to be using them in reverse. The reason why is because, as you can see, I've got my modular orientated on the right hand side of my Mpcx. So my cables won't stretch all the way over to the first CV ports here. So I'm just going to be using CV port 8, 7, 6 and possibly 5, depending on how I get to that in the video. So to access the CV program on your Mpcx, you press the CV mode selection in your track field here, and that will switch your track to CV program mode. And then we get access to our CV program parameters in the program field. So this section here is where you configure your CV ports. The top one is ideally used for pitch information to control the pitch of an oscillator, and the bottom one is the gate port, and that controls the triggering of your modular synthesizer. Next to that, we've got mod wheel. I'm not going to be looking at that in this video, and we've got a velocity port, which I'm also not going to look at in this video. So before I start patching the Mpcx into the modular system, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my current setup. Now this module here is a Sound Machine's Modular 114. This is a fully self-contained modular synthesizer. The reason I bought this, and the reason I'm telling you about this, is because for the money, it was very economical. I didn't need to go ahead and buy this big case and all these modules. Obviously I've got them now because I'm addicted to Eurocrack, as they like to call it. But at the time, I couldn't afford to buy all these individual units. So to put it into context, this unit here is an IntelliGel UVCF. So it's a filter unit. All it does is filter sounds. It doesn't make any sounds on its own unless you increase the Q value, and then it will self-resonate. But you can see what I'm saying. It doesn't have an envelope, it doesn't have an LFO, it doesn't have an effects unit. It is literally just one module, and it has one dedicated task, and that's filtering. This was £200 just on its own. This machine was £750 on its own, but it has 2 oscillators, it's got an envelope section, it's got a filter, it's got an effects unit, it's got LFOs, it's got mixer units, multis, which are things that you can patch one signal into and split out to multiple destinations. So I'm basically trying to get you to understand that you can go and buy something for the price of an average decent digital synthesizer, which is obviously hard patched to behave in a certain way. If there's any advice that I can give you guys today, is start off with something like this. So for this video, I'm going to use the Modular 114 for its envelope generator, and I'm going to use the VCA because I don't have a dedicated VCA or envelope module in my rack up the top here. And for the oscillator, I'm going to use this Cylonics shapeshifter, just purely because it's a really interesting module and it produces a lot more interesting sound than the actual dedicated oscillator on this Modular 114. So let's go back to the Mpcx. So first of all, I'm going to configure my 2 CV ports that I'm going to use for this video. The top one is going to be used for pitch, that's the CV port. So I'm going to move my data wheel and change that to CV output 8. And I'm going to patch this yellow cable out of that CV 8 port. And I'm going to patch that in to the pitch control of my Cylonics shapeshifter oscillator, which is there. Okay, so we're not going to hear any sound at the moment. So the gate port is the one underneath. I'm going to switch that to CV port 7. And I'm going to take this red cable and I'm going to patch it into the gate input on the envelope of this Modular 114. Put that into the gate input. Now, The gate output needs to go into the VCA. Now a VCA is a voltage controlled amplifier. So it's going to take the signal that's coming from the MPCX. Okay, so we can now see that signal. It's being input into the modular. Every time I press the pad, that's now flashing. And I'm going to take this smaller cable, I'm going to go out of that envelope, and that's going to go into the CV input port of the VCA. So basically the MPCX, whenever I trigger a pad, it's sending a signal into the envelope. So we've got a standard ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release, on these 4 knobs. And that signal is going to go into the VCA, which is the voltage controlled amplifier. So with a VCA, the idea is that you shut off the volume completely. If we have this open, we'll be able to hear the signal. We haven't actually got a signal going into it at the moment. We've just got obviously the control voltage being sent from the MPCX going in. So it's basically going to effectively open and close this, okay, automatically for us. So whenever we trigger the pad, it's essentially doing that. So I'm going to have mine fully shut off. Next, I'm going to take the output of this Cylonic shapeshifter oscillator. So that's this port here. And I'm going to plug that into the input of the VCA. This VCA has 2 inputs, so we can actually put a second oscillator into there. But I'm just going to use one for this video. Now we still won't be able to hear anything because we have to take the output of that VCA and now plug it into a mixer. So I've got this slightly longer cable now. I'm going to go out of the VCA and I'm going to go into the input of this mixer up the top in my main rack. This is an Erica Synths black mixer. It's a 3 input and 3 output mixer. And then you've got these 3 knobs to control the volume. So now when I trigger a pad, we should be able to hear that Cylonic shapeshifter. So let's just remove the yellow cable here that's controlling our pitch, just to show you that. Okay, so now we can't control the pitch with the pads on the MPCX. We can control it with a dedicated coarse tuning of the shapeshifter. So this is where you would actually set up the tuning of that oscillator independently of whatever pad you've pressed. So let's patch that back into the pitch and then we get our pitch control back. So I don't claim to know everything there is to know about modular synthesis. It's a very complex discipline and I know enough to show you the basics, and I could get complex on my own modules here, but knowing why everything does the way it does it and knowing how it does it. So for example, I'm not too sure if there's a setting that I'm missing on the MPCX, but basically if I go to pad bank A, even though we've got control over the pitch and we can actually change the actual root frequency with the coarse tuning of this Cylonic shapeshifter, if I'm in pad bank A, we still can't control that pitch no matter what we've got the coarse tuning set to. And the same goes for pad bank B, pad bank C, up until we get to pad 6, and then the pitch will start increasing. And go to pad bank D, pad bank E, and it will keep going up from there into crazy high frequencies. And it actually stops. Where does it stop? So pad bank G, it doesn't actually increase any further beyond that. So that is either something to do with my knowledge or something to do with the MPCX and how it's set up. I'm not too sure. I can't explain to you why the pitch range literally starts from pad 6 in pad bank C. So that's just something to look out for if you see that the pads aren't actually taking effect on the pitch of your oscillator. Anyway, so that's the 2 main things that you would probably most likely want to control in a modular synthesizer. Now we're not limited to just 2 CV ports per program to control these parameters in the modular synthesizer. We can use our Q links. So let's take another cable. Again, I've got this long red cable. I'm going to take that out of CV port 6. So that's now coming out of CV port 6. Now, as I said, you can't configure that additional port to do anything from here. We've just got the CV port and gate, which again are most commonly going to be used for pitch and triggering. But if we press and hold one of our Q-Link modes and go to Q-Link edit, we can now set up a Q-Link to control other parameters. So I'm going to choose my CV out 6. It's already showing up here. And there you go, CV out 6. We don't have to actually do anything to that. We just need to make sure we're in program mode and we've got a cable coming out of one of our other 3 ports. So my next 3 port was CV out 6. So I'm going to patch this in to my shapeshifter's shape control. This will allow me to sweep through the wavetable oscillator that I'm currently using on this shapeshifter. Now that has an amount knob here, so if we turn that off completely, the Q-Link's not going to take any effect on that parameter, because we've actually shut that off with the physical knob on the shapeshifter. So I'm going to increase that all the way to maximum. And now if I trigger a pad and move my Q-Link for CV out 6, I'm actually going to decrease the pitch or the coarse tuning, and you'll hear that take effect a lot more. So that's sweeping through our wavetable in the shapeshifter. So I'm going to record a sequence into the MPCX, just something really simple. It's probably not going to sound that brilliant, but I'm going to show you how you can record, automate your CV outs as well. Now I'm going to put it into right automation mode, and I'm going to overdub some automation using my 6th Q-Link for CV out 6. Okay, so that's recorded exactly what I did with the Q-Link knob movements. It sounded exactly the same to me, and it didn't feel like it recorded something a bit delayed or not accurately. So it is very, very spot on. Now I'm going to take another cable and I'm going to patch this out of CV out 5. So I'm going to patch this into the CV input of the filter. Now we haven't got our oscillator going into this filter. We've currently got it just coming straight out of the VCA. Okay, so we've got the oscillator, the shapeshifter, going into the VCA, and we've got the gate signal going into the VCA so we can trigger it and use the envelope. I didn't actually show you the envelope actually. Let's just trigger a note back. You can open up the release time. Let's play back the sequence. Okay, so what we need to do is unpatch something now. So I'm going to take the output of the VCA, which is literally where our signal terminates before it goes into the mixer. Okay, and I'm going to patch that into the input of the filter. Now remember, we've got our CV output from the MPCX controlling the CV of this filter, okay? And that way we can do a filter sweep now. So I've got the VCA going into the filter, and now the output of that filter, we can choose a low pass or a band pass. I'm just going to choose low pass, and I'm going to take that out and put that into the mixer. So I just need one more cable for that. Let's take this cable, let's go out of the low pass output port of that filter and put that into our mixer. So all we've done is bypass the VCA going straight into the mixer. We've bypassed that, gone into a filter, and now we're coming out of the filter into the mixer. So now we can control the filtering. Okay, so I'm doing that manually with the frequency cutoff knob on the Modular 114. So as you know, I took my CV out 5 and I put that into the CV port. Now all we need to do is control the CV out 5 with our 5th Q link. So let's play back the sequence again. Now it's not taking much of an effect because I've got the filter pretty much fully open. So let's take that down to about 50%, or in fact about 30%. And now it's actually recorded that in anyway when I did that last movement. And now that's all fully recorded in. Can increase the resonance. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Any questions, please put them down below. As I've said before, I do Skype lessons or Google Hangouts if you prefer to use that. Please hit me up on my Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/Tubedigga. Simple stuff. You can get in contact with me there and we can do one-on-one Skype sessions. I've had about 10 of those now with about 8 different people, and they're all very happy. And I've taught them loads about the MPC format because they're getting back into it or they've never used it before. And obviously I can also give you some advice when it comes to modular synthesis. As said, I'm not a complete expert with it, but I do know my way around most of the things in a modular synthesizer, and particularly with my own modules. It's a very personal thing. You do learn as you go along, and it's all down to the actual modules you use and integrate in your setup. But I'll be doing a lot more on this, guys, and I will be showing you other tracks that I've made. And also please stay tuned for other videos where I can show you how to input the sound of this into the modular and chop it up and recreate your modular recordings in drum programs and clip programs and key group programs. So there's going to be a whole series of videos on modular, guys. This is certainly not it. This was just the basic beginner's guide to someone who's thinking of using these devices together. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe. I will see you on the next one. This is Tubedigga and I'm out.